Appreciate you streaming on in here on Birds 365. McDonald and McMullen here with you. We've got Rickie Ricardo, the voice of the Eagles, and Espanol, host on WIP here in Philadelphia, to come in. Thanks for your patience, Ricardo. Sorry, Johnny Mac and I were going back and forth. We left you hanging there for a couple of minutes. Did you get an extra cup of coffee?
It was an interesting argument, though.
I appreciate your patience, Ricky. So we'll start there with you.
Well, wait, hold on. Before I get into that, I've got to say something that I experienced over the weekend that I'm still kind of discombobulated about.
What's that?
So I'm sitting here in my studio in Florida waiting to go on the air to do my WIP show.
By the way, he's bragging already in Florida.
And I'm coming
You're
on.
making us jealous.
Oh, Florida, it's beautiful.
Yeah.
But I'm flying in my flight leaving. So I'm watching the end of the NCAA coverage. Okay, and then I switch over. This was Sunday night, whatever night it was, Saturday night. So I switch over to the Sixers Phoenix game. So I'm waiting for the post-game show on the radio to finish. Horowitz does a very long post-game show. So I'm watching the basketball. I get on the air, and the next thing I look up, and on the channel that gives the Sixer game, they go to the next piece of programming after the post-game show, and what do I see? Jody Mack drinking beer.
Oh.
Okay, with Glenn.
I didn't even know this.
I
didn't
know this.
No, wait a second. I've known Jody Mack many, many years, and I have seen him consume many 48-ounce big gulp, soft drinks or that type of beverage. Never, and maybe a stogie once in a while, but I have never seen him try to consume or enjoy an adult beverage. And remember, these are these craft beers, all these weird stuff. See, I associate Jody Mack with either Schaefer or Rheingold Extra Dry.
Rheingold. Wow, Schaefer. We're going back.
Okay? Those were the two official beers of the New York Mets television network on Channel 9 on WOR. Either Rheingold Extra Dry, and it looks so uncomfortable for you, Jody. You look like
no. You got some right reads and you got some wrong reads. No beers are uncomfortable in my hands. I have preferences, and believe it or not Rheingold or Schaefer, although I've had many in my day. I've always been a Bud man, and they had a taste test on the show, and I didn't pick out the Bud, so I was embarrassed. But no, I'm an equal opportunity drinker. I'll have a little bit of whatever you give me.
I'm with you though, Jody. If you hand me a bunch of IPAs, just give me something. Just give me a regular beer. I'm not
as caught up in the craft beer thing as my buddy Glenn Macno is.
Oh yeah.
But the side story to Rickie's story is I got a call last night on WIP, and the guy appreciated. He saw the same show and watched it and laughed and had fun. He said, "Here's why I love you, Jody. It was myself and Glenn Macno and Ed Hospodar, a former Flyer.
Yes.
So they gave us these little cups, and they hold maybe 4 or 5 ounces. Maybe it holds 6, but they filled it up 3/4 of the way. And Glenn took a nice little sip, and Boxcar took a nice little sip. I took the glass. I drank half. I tasted it, and I drank the other half. So I finished it all. And Ed and Glenn have more than half left in their cup. He goes, "At least you're a drinker. You're it's only 5 ounces. What the hell? Put it down." And I did. And I killed all 5 of the beers at 5 ounces at a time. Had a nice little buzz by the time the show was over. Thank you for asking, Ricky.
Which one of them did you like the best? Because I had the volume down, so I couldn't tell.
You know what won the taste test, believe it or not? Pabst Blue Ribbon.
Oh, I like it, but it wasn't an IPA at least. So
no, it was all non-IPAs. These were all just regular beers that we were tasting.
So in the end, a beer that was more associated with the New York Yankees.
That's the one that won. It got my highest rating and the group's highest rating as well. So yeah, I had a nice buzz at it, but I looked a little foolish. I had to wipe some egg off my face. All right, do I need to wipe egg off my face in saying, yeah, I'm nervous about the Jalen Hurts contract, that this isn't going to get done in the next 2 days, 2 weeks, and maybe not the next 2 months?
I don't know where this is going. I don't know if Jalen Hurts' persona his professionalism, just the way he comes across, I don't know if any of that is going to rub over to the way his representatives. I'm assuming he's not going the Lamar Jackson route, and he has an agent. So I don't know if the way he comes across as a player and as a quarterback, and the way he deals with the media, if there's any crossover whatsoever there with the way his negotiations are going to go. Sometimes, players take on the personality, or maybe the negotiation takes on the personality of the player, if you know what I mean. We've seen that over the years. Everything is very professional, very astute with Jalen Hurts as far as everything we know about football and the way he deals with us. I don't know if once they get into the negotiating room, if all of a sudden, his people take a very, Deshaun Watson or Lamar Jackson type of approach to dealing with this. I don't know. I don't think any one of us knows. There's no precedent for this.
Nope.
I tend to agree with Jody that I think this is such an unknown here that I'd be shocked without the market already being set and still some things fluctuating in the air as far as big money quarterbacks. I don't think Jalen Hurts should be in any rush whatsoever to be the first one to the finish line.
I think Deshaun Watson, his contract, and I think Lamar Jackson have kind of skewed things. There have been plenty of contracts that have been done since Deshaun Watson. I mean, we start with Aaron Rodgers. I mean, Russell Wilson. These are big name players. So I think there's sort of this outlier that things have changed, but I think they're the outlier in the case of Deshaun. And by the way, it's not Deshaun Watson's fault. I think because of his reputation, we all know what he was accused of. He was set to go to Atlanta. I mean, he was set to go to Atlanta, and then all of a sudden Jimmy Haslam lost him and comes in. Well, we're going to guarantee we're going to give you everything. We're going to give you and people around the NFL don't like Jimmy Haslam for that. And then you have Lamar Jackson. Yeah, I don't think Jalen Hurts is going to fire his agent, Nicole Lynn, for some gym salesman. Ken Francis is going to start. So I think people look at those two unique situations and kind of envelop them into normal contract negotiations, which most players and most quarterbacks still have. I have seen no evidence that Jeffrey Lurie is going to have a problem with this. When I do, I'll be the first to raise my hand and say I was wrong. That's just not the way the Eagles run. I mean, they are very, there's not a lot of bumps in the road when it comes to this kind of stuff, at least over the past 10 years or so.
Well, from your lips to God's ears, because I hope the sooner the better this thing gets done and the Eagles can stay out of that frying pan of controversy. What they have been able to do now, obviously, for a good long while since Howie Roseman's been on this roll of great moves and signings here and releases here. And, look, the guy, get Howie in a casino with me right now near the roulette table. He's hot. But during this period where just about everything they've done has worked out, it's been very, very smooth. There's been no bump in the road. So hopefully it continues that way.
All right, Ricky, since you're singing Howie Roseman's praises, and we know that in a capped world, you can't just do everything you want to do, give us your grade on Howie during this offseason. All the additions, all the losses, feel free to grade on a curve because the Eagles are saving money for the Jalen Hurts contract and the like. He couldn't just lavish money on everybody. He made selective choices, paid Bradberry, paid Fletcher Cox, chose not to pay Edwards, chose not to pay CJGJ. What kind of grade would you give Howie Roseman for his offseason moves to this point between A+ and F?
I give him a B. And the only reason I give him a B and not go all the way to the A is because of that Jalen. I think the real tipping point, what really is going to take him to a final grade, will be how he handles the Jalen Hurts. That's the big one. That's the big kahuna. Look, I watch a guy operate on a daily basis named Brian Cashman, who is very similar to Howie Roseman in the baseball sense. Now, right now, Howie's batting average is a little bit higher than Cashman's. Overall, remember, Cashman's been doing this, I think, Jody, 25 years?
Over 20 for sure.
That's
Yeah,
amazing
1998,
longevity for that
98.
franchise. Yeah.
So you're talking about two guys that have been able to maneuver their way through the landmines of new collective bargaining agreements, luxury tax on one end, hard cap on another end. I'm going to give him a B because I still need to see the biggest domino fall, which is the Jalen Hurts contract. But having said that, I said, and I may have said it with you guys, I may have said it on the air, I may have said it to the dog here, but I thought Selmalo would go. I thought Hargrave would go. I just thought those were two high-ticket items that weren't realistically going to come back. The one that I was wrong about was Gardner-Johnson. I thought once he got past that third day and nobody jumped and just threw, a Brinks truck worth of money at him, I figured he was coming back. Now, the two safeties whose name – look, I can't even recall the names right now. I think Terrell Edmonds is one of them.
Edmonds and Evans, right.
The other one. So
Justin Evans.
Evans, is it?
Yeah.
Justin Evans.
So who knows – how big an impact either one of those two guys is going to make. I saw when Gardner-Johnson was out this year, Blankenship did the job. Was that a Band-Aid or was it a permanent fix? It remains to be seen. I think the experience that Blankenship got was very, very important to him moving forward. So I think that's something that for now is on the good side of the ledger. With Roseman moves, I'm going to give him a B. And if he's able to get the Jalen Hurts situation wrapped up without a ton of controversy that kind of throws the Eagle machine into a tizzy, then absolutely he gets an A in my book. I think right now it's a B with that one large move still waiting to go.
Hey, Rickie, I'm glad you brought up Brian Cashman. When Howie was exiled, I'd like to say, during the Chip Kelly era, he traveled a lot and he went to visit other successful sort of GMs, team presidents. And one of the ones he went to visit was Brian Cashman. Went to visit R.C. Buford with the Spurs. The guy who ran Manchester United, I forget his name. He went all over trying to pick the brains of successful executives, and Cashman was one of them. And he was a lot better after he talked to those guys than before. I think people forget Howie Roseman 1.0 wasn't as good as Howie Roseman 2.0. So in many ways, Brian Cashman's one of the guys who helped Howie Roseman become Howie Roseman, and Howie admits it. So I'm glad he brought up his name. But as far as the Eagles, as we said, in free agency, I'm with you. I thought they were going to get CJ back, but I thought they were going to lose Bradberry. I think the Eagles felt that as well. And all of a sudden they get Bradberry, who took a little less. And the whole year, Bradberry said, I want to be back, but I'm going to take, the best contract. And then it comes time to it, and he says, yeah, I'm going to come back. And I think the Eagles pivoted at that point. That's where I think Howie's good. I think that's where he sets himself apart from other GMs, is the contingencies. When other people get punched in the face, and everybody gets punched in the face, they don't have a plan B. They don't have a plan C. Howie tends to have a plan D, a plan E, as we saw with A.J. Brown, C.J. Gardner-Johnson. You see it that way, or you think it's just luck?
No, I do, J-Mac. I think Roseman's time, and you're absolutely right. When he got exiled, I don't know what, the guru, he went to these other guys, but the 2.0, the post-Chip Kelly Howie Roseman, I think is the model right now, the model for a successful young general manager in sports, period, because of that very fact. if one thing doesn't work, he's got another 2-3 pieces right behind that might fit in. And in a very fluid NFL situation, the way it is now, where year after year you're renegotiating. I think a great move that came out of the blue for me was the Lane Johnson renegotiation. The way Lane played last year when healthy, I think showed you that he still has a lot left in the tank. He is over some of the other hurdle. Remember, Lane's had, substance thing. They had the, came out publicly, which is, great of him as far as, maybe some mental health issues. There's been a lot with Lane Johnson. And he played so well. He was the best right tackle in the game, in my opinion. To be able to, to save on this year's number, what is it, 8-10 million, something like that they're going to save on this year's cap by extending Lane and renegotiating. There were some things that I would have never thought of that he had in his bag of tricks this year. And what I thought maybe, because I'm predicting, guys, that September 7th, Thursday, September the 7th, the Phillies are off. That's the night that the NFL debuts, right? And I know the schedule hasn't been announced yet, but I'm going to say it anyway. Eagles at Chiefs. They've got to play the Chiefs this year anyway at Arrowhead, so it'll probably be a Super Bowl rematch on Thursday, September the 7th. I thought it would be a much, much different Philadelphia Eagle team, and not in a positive way. Now my outlook on that has completely changed. If you're telling me right now that the NFL's initial game this year, which will be on Thursday, September the 7th, is a rematch of the Super Bowl at Arrowhead, Eagles at Chiefs, I'm picking the Eagles, whereas maybe 2-3 weeks ago, it may have been the other way around.
Really? All right. I'm not ready to make a pick on that game, but I think you could be on to something.
We got time. There's
a distinct possibility for the first game of the season, a Super Bowl rematch. I got to give Howie Roseman both credit, and that therefore comes into a question. One thing that Howie's been able to do, and John emphasizes this all the time, and he's dead on right. Part of Howie Roseman's ability to be as good a general manager as he is the fact that Jeff Lurie's a great owner and is willing to go along with Howie's moves and the risks that he takes, and signing big. You just mentioned the Lane Johnson contract. He's writing a big check this week. Lane Johnson's getting upfront money, guaranteed, and the owner's got to be willing to write that check so that he can get cap relief down the road. So yes, part of Howie's greatness is derived from his owner being the type of owner that he is. But going into this season, 2023, dead money cap hit that the teams are carrying in, and you've got to just subtract that from your cap to start the season. Eagles are number 1 in the league, and it's not even close to who's second. The Eagles are at like $46 million of dead cap money, and the Raiders are number 2 at 29 and change. It like a massive drop-off between number 1 and number 2. Not number 1 in the rest of the league, just number 2. So that's Jeff Lurie just being willing to eat all this money going forward. They did it a couple of years ago when they cut Carson Wentz, the biggest individual player dead cap money hit ever. And oh, by the way, they still made the playoffs with Jalen Hurts as a second-year quarterback. Is this ever going to catch up with Howie? That the Eagles do a lot of credit card economics. The bill is going to come due at some point. And if you don't pay it right away, there's credit attached to it, fines attached to it. Can Howie just continue to do this the way that he has?
Listen, this is Peter paying Paul, whatever that old saying. I get it. I am ready. Mentally, I am ready for either 2025, 26, 27. Somewhere down the road, there's going to have to be a big reset, and we're going to have a 5-12 or a 4-13 season. I know it. Now, the window in the NFC right now is still wide open for this team.
Yep.
I think it might be wide open depending on how this draft works out. I think the NFC with Rodgers eventually, you figure anyway, getting over to the AFC, but he's only a year or two, as far as relevance anyway in the league. But with the most important position on the field being quarterback of a National Football League team, NFC side, I just don't see anything on the horizon. I don't see a team, not the Giants. I don't see a team in the division that's going to challenge the Eagles in the next couple of years. If you tell me the 49ers, if you tell me their young quarterback finally develops and the way that organization is run, that they may be the biggest contenders or challengers to the Eagles in the conference in the next year or two, I might buy that. I don't know about the Lions. Yeah, they did well toward Jared Goff. Come on. I think you go all in right now for these next couple seasons, that credit card economic. I get it, the whole thing. I know I'm going to pay for it down the road. I'm making a deal with the devil right now, but I think it'll be worth it. I think the Eagles should get back to at least one more championship game and or Super Bowl while the NFC is still kind of in flux. And if it takes having to pay for it down the road, not only myself, but I think the Eagle fan base is willing to accept that, because right now we're in a position where the Eagles are a move or two or just a stroke of good luck or just consistent good play away from maybe bringing another Lombardi trophy to Philadelphia.
They're set up. The championship window is open.
Yep.
To Jody's point, and at @RR_Ricardo FAN, make sure you follow Ricky on Twitter. I'm going to go to your baseball team as well again. I'm going to go to the Yankees. If there's going to be a shift, the shift is going to be, to Jody's point, we now know the TV deal. It's locked in. So we now know the cap is going up and up and up and up, barring another pandemic. And I don't think that's going to happen, because we learned our lesson from the first one. They're not going to shut down businesses. So it's going to keep going up and up and up and up. If there's ever a shift in the Eagles' philosophy, it's going to come with a shift from Jeffrey Lurie to Julian Lurie. And I'm not saying, you've seen it with George Steinbrenner to Hal Steinbrenner. Right. Not that the Yankees don't spend money, but they don't spend money at any cost like they used to do to win.
No.
Now, Jeffrey's about winning at this stage. Julian might be, but my point is, I don't know. There might be a shift at that point. But as long as Jeffrey's here running this team, the Eagles are fine. The Eagles are fine when it comes to dead money.
I agree. And there is a distinct difference between the way George Steinbrenner ran the club and his son Hal Steinbrenner runs the club. There was a difference when the late Hank Steinbrenner was involved in the everyday operation of the team. There was still a lot of George in Hank. The Hal and Jody will tell you is night and day different the way he goes about it. Now, both with the perspective of World Series or bust. That is still the Yankee philosophy. You don't win the World Series, the season was a failure. I don't think the Eagles are to that extreme. They're the level or the expectant level of excellence, I think, is year after year getting stronger for the Philadelphia Eagles. I think failure is unacceptable, as maybe it may have been to a certain extent years ago. We're getting there. So yeah, there's some similarities. I have no idea what the younger Lurie would be all about.
Yeah, nobody does. Yeah,
I don't think anyone knows. But no, you're absolutely right. As long as these people are in place and these rules are in place with a little tweak here, a little tweak there, next collective bargaining agreement, or as you said, the cap continues to go up because the league is so healthy, I think we're going to be just fine. But as to Jody's point, there will come a time if they don't get a championship in the next 2 to 3 years, and it comes a time where the numbers come back to bite them in the keister, then we can have this conversation again and say, well, maybe going all in the roulette, the craps table at the casino maybe wasn't the right way to go. For now, I can't argue with what they're doing.
Agreed. Last one for me, Ricky, and we'll let you run. Last year, 33 catches, 354 yards, 3 touchdowns. Yep. Those were the numbers for Quez Watkins as the Eagles' number 3 wide receiver. They don't jump off the page, but you're not going to get the ball thrown to you all that much when you got Dallas Goedert and Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown out there with you.
True.
Quez had a couple of plays, balls that went off his hands, balls he couldn't grab that turned into picks against the Dallas Cowboys. He came under some pretty good scrutiny this past year, and I thought he came up small. Is wide receiver 3 a position that you worry about? Or come on, now we're talking about 3 here. Not 1, not 2, 3. I think that because there's been so many changes with the Eagles and comparing old Eagles, the Eagles that got away to the young and inexpensive Eagles that have come in, I think wide receiver is an understated, underrated need for the Philadelphia Eagles. Am I just nitpicking here by saying they got to upgrade at wide receiver 3, or you think that's a legit concern?
No, that is a legit concern. I agree with you. Remember, they lost Pascal also, which was a veteran. If you want to look at him as a 4, whatever, however you want to classify Zach. No, I think you're absolutely right. 3 and 4. I'd like to see 2 guys. 2 guys get it, whether it's, one possession type of Pascal-like receiver, or maybe a veteran at some point that gets cut or waiver wire, or somebody that's still lingering out there in free agency. But no, I think wide receiver 3 in the type of offense that the Eagles like to run, I think take a little bit of pressure off those 2 guys. You can't expect them to have that kind of monstrous seasons. Take a little pressure off those. Get another weapon out there that Jalen Hurts can go to with some sort of level of confidence. I started losing faith in Quez Watkins as the season went along. So, no, Jody, I agree with you. I think wide receiver 3, another dynamic type of young playmaker that can at least throw some concern into the mindset of opposing defensive coordinators, is a legit need for this team going forward.
Ricardo, we wanted to get you on because we know soon enough you'll be Yankee buried for the next 6 months. So we wanted to get you on for one more Eagle spot before the baseball season kicked off. We will get you back on if
anytime. For you 2, I don't care if I've got a double header on that particular day. If you need me, I'm here for you, my friends. Now I'm off to the airport, Orlando to Newark. And it's baseball.
Now I feel bad for you.
No more Florida. Get your butt back up here to the Northeast.
Yeah.
Muchas gracias, amigo. We will talk down the road.
Thank you, Ricky.
The voice of the Eagles and Espanol, Rickie Ricardo here with us.
That's a tough one. When you got to leave Orlando for Newark, that's a tough one.
Yeah, he's been doing the Florida all winter thing. So, yeah, he's back up with us here in the Northeast. He's John McMullen. I'm Jody McDonald. We'll come back another hour to go with Birds 365, and joining us in about 20 minutes, you'll probably recognize the face, the smiling wonder from Sports Take, our very own Barrett Brooks. Barrett hadn't been on the show in over a month, so we're looking forward to talking Eagles stuff. I know you see him you see him here on the JAKIB Media YouTube channel every day, see him on NBC Sports Philly all the time. Well, damn it, we want to talk to Barrett Brooks too. He's going to join us coming up in about 20 minutes.
Go to get your game